Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person today, but I'm glad to have the opportunity to address you in this way. Today's seminar contributes to the midterm review of the Europe 2020 strategy and how it can reduce poverty and inequality. This review offers an opportunity to assess the last 4 years. Looking back to this period, we can see the strategy's strengths and limitations. I was encouraged to read your contribution to the review, which contains some very interesting ideas on both process and substance. Achieving smart, sustainable and inclusive growth depends on meeting all 5 Europe 2020 targets. The targets have helped us focus on the key issues. However, national ownership of the targets has been rather limited, and the Member States have not always set their sights high enough. The European Platform Against Poverty flagship initiative has kept poverty high up the political agenda. The 2013 Social Investment Package has given the Member States policy guidance on the social reforms and innovation they need to carry out to prevent and reduce poverty. The SIP, as it has been popularly called, included recommendations against child poverty and guidance on dealing with homelessness. It stressed that preventing poverty is just as important as reducing poverty and confirmed that social policy can contribute to growth and competitiveness. I also want to highlight the importance of the European Framework for National Roma Integration Strategies. In order to improve the living conditions of a community which is not only facing deprivation but also very often discrimination, the EU framework became a series of recommendations. Beyond recommendations, the Commission also provides practical support, for instance, by putting forward methods for improving policy design and investing in people's skills through the European Social Fund. The capacity of the EU budget to support social inclusion has been reinforced by ring-fencing 20% of the ESF for social inclusion-related programs and creating the FEAD to support the most deprived. Ladies and gentlemen, the years of the crisis aggravated Europe's social problems. While some of the new member states, where material deprivation has been significant, continued to make progress towards the average EU income level, we have experienced an increase in the number of people living in poverty or social exclusion. This is in particular applies to the Eurozone, which has experienced a dangerous polarization in terms of employment and social outcomes. In order to bolster the social dimension of the EMU, the Commission has introduced a scoreboard of key employment and social indicators to help identify and monitor divergences within the European Union, potentially affecting its functioning. The scoreboard already played a role in the 2014 European semester. It should help ensuring that the European semester increasingly pays attention to poverty and social exclusion. In 2014, many country-specific recommendations addressed the adequacy and coverage of benefits, combined with activating and enabling measures, effective social transfers, quality childcare services, and access to healthcare. Through further reforming the EMU, it will also need to be ensured that economic downturns do not necessarily lead to depression on the Eurozone periphery, and that internal devaluation is not the dominant form of restoring economic competitiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, in the future, we will need to see how to ensure the Europe 2020 strategy meets its full potential of creating smart, sustainable and inclusive growth. The European semester's potential as an instrument of governance for achieving the Europe 2020 objectives still needs to be fully realized. Member States need to set their national targets high enough to ensure the EU headline target is met. And we need to measure the target in a more consistent way across the EU. Our existing monitoring instruments focus on outcomes, but that is not enough. We also need to be able to assess and benchmark the performance of our policy approaches. There is a need for a better understanding of the way policies are interlinked and for closer coordination at both the EU and national level. Tackling poverty and inequality also involves taxation, health, education, employment and economic policy. And finally, we also need to look at the European platform against poverty itself and see how we can encourage greater participation in it. Policy must be designed and implemented in close cooperation with social service providers, the social partners, civil society, and people experiencing poverty. That's why the platform's partnership approach should center on a fresh commitment to social investment. I believe we need a more flexible and responsive process and better ownership at each country level. Civil society plays a key part in implementing our policies on the ground and in driving improvements, which is why their role in the Europe 2020 is crucial. Events like today's one help sharpen our view on how we can move forward and make progress in terms of reducing poverty. The 9th of October conference on the poverty target and the annual convention of the European Platform Against Poverty will provide further opportunities for that. I look forward to hearing the outcome of your discussions. And I would like to thank the EAPN for its role in the debate on social Europe and wish you all the best.